Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. That was just an incredible basketball game. It was one of the wildest things I've seen in quite some time. I don't even know where to begin. Was it the fact that the Sixers shot 80% from the three-point line in the first half? Was it the fact that they scored 82 points in the first half? Was it the fact that Joel Embiid dropped 38 but only scored 1 in the first quarter and missed his first 6 shots? Was it the fact that Seth Curry went 5 for 5 from 3 alone in the first quarter? Was it the fact that Ben Simmons knocked down 5 of 5 shots early on, and I've been criticizing him for not being able to finish around the rim? Well, he was doing exactly that as he finished with 7 of 9 from the field. He had 17 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds, so he filled the stat sheet. How about the fact that Raul Neto thought he would be able to go up with a nice layup without realizing Joel Embiid was right behind him? What a moron. What an idiot. I will say the defense has to be better. You need to clean that up. You can't allow 136 points. You can't blow a 21-point lead. But the fourth quarter stretch was unreal. So much back and forth action. You name it, it probably happened. To the point where Bertans is airballing threes, but you have the Wizards right underneath the basket and easily putting it back. Oh yeah, how could I forget? Bradley Beal dropping 60 points and only having 3 in the fourth quarter. So it was the exact opposite of what Joel Embiid did. Bradley Beal was hot for 3, the first 3, cold in the fourth. Embiid was cold in the first, great in the back 3, specifically the fourth quarter with not much time to go, which is the most important part of the basketball game. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave, by the way. You get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. So yes, Joel Embiid's growth really stood out to me. And entering the season, I said, Joel Embiid is now getting to that age where it's not about, okay, you're going to learn. And look, I'm not saying that he's not going to take these experiences from this point on and apply that to his game, because yes, he is still going to do that. But it is now time. Before this season, it was about grasping information and losing so you can see what you need to do better, and you need to experience pain so you can go in the offseason and work on this, work on that, work on the passing and the double teams and all of that nature. Now, this season was the year where it's, let's see that significant jump. You're still going to learn. Let's be clear about that. You're still going to see how teams defend you and see what teams are going to do to you with this new team, and you're going to have to find ways to adapt and adjust to what other squads are going to do to you. But it is now time to be the guy. It is now time to dominate at another level. Take what you did and multiply it by 5 and be that guy that no one's going to stop no matter what. And I saw that. I absolutely did. He had an and one. He had a block on Bradley Beal. He went to the free throw line, knocked them both down. He had a three-pointer, and he had a hell of a pass to Ben Simmons, who was sitting in the dunker spot, who finished it with contact, although he missed the free throw. Not super stoked about it, but I won't ridicule the man too much. Although, look, you're going to get fouled in late-game situations. If Joel Embiid is going to get double-teamed and Ben Simmons is going to be open, plenty of guys are going to be open, but specifically Ben Simmons, we're talking late-game action. Ben is going to have to be willing to go to that free throw line and knock them down. It didn't come back to bite them in this game specifically, but something to be aware about as the road continues for this basketball team. I saw professionalism, though, out of Joel Embiid. I saw him take pride. I saw him take demand. I saw him be the true leader on both sides of the floor. What he did in the fourth was impressive. I also think what he did in the second quarter was impressive. Think about this. You start the game off very poorly. You miss all of your shots. You have 1 point. How do you react to that? What is your statement going to be? Are you going to be all right with that and just say, hey, teammates, this is your game? you know what, I'm not on my game tonight, but I have faith in everybody else. He should have faith in other guys, but I don't want him taking a back seat. I don't want him to allow himself to be in one of those moments where it's, you know what? Nah, it's just not me tonight. No. Strap up. Get your ass back out there. Make your shots. Impact the game. Sure enough, he did. Now, I will always say this when a Sixers win occurs, when there's nobody else on the floor that can really stop someone like Joel Embiid. There's really no one else on the other side of the floor that can stop Joel Embiid in this matchup. And there are limited guys that can give Joel Embiid more pain. There's not many. There's a very select few guys that can battle physically with Joel Embiid and make him earn everything, just to be fair. But it's not as if this Washington Wizards team is some legit threat. And I know some might not like that, and it's something I've stressed throughout the first 8 games of the season, but it's a reality. They haven't played tough opponents. Luckily, for the Wizards, Bradley Beal was dropping 50 points, 55 points, 57 points, keeping this team engaged. At one point, Bradley Beal had like 57 points, but they were still down by 14. When does that ever happen? He was keeping them active, which somewhat annoyed me because you have Ben Simmons, elite defender. Doc Rivers wants to utilize him as a roamer. He said that he didn't want to go to Ben on Bradley Beal because he liked what he was doing as the roamer. I'm sorry, when a guy is going off to that degree, you can't just allow him to do whatever he wants. He had step-back shots. I thought it was a three-pointer, but his foot was, I guess, on the line on Joel Embiid in the corner. He was doing whatever he wanted to at will. When someone gets to that point, I'm sorry, you have to do something different. You would criticize Brett Brown for not putting your best defender on a guy like that. I told you, death, taxes, a guard going off and abusing the 76ers. But you have an elite defender, and I would like to see you try and stop Bradley Beal. I know Russell Westbrook didn't have a good game, and Ben Simmons was defending Westbrook. And look, I get it. Westbrook didn't have a good game. Once someone transitions to that type of heat, that type of fire, stop them. At least attempt to. Better than you did. At will. He was scoring buckets. At will, he was doing what he wants. I think that needs to get cleaned up for sure. That second quarter, though, I talked about Joel Embiid. There's something that he did that stood out to me that he is constantly doing this season, and it is going to be a difference maker if he continues. He is running up the floor, he's getting in position, and he's underneath the basket. Snap of his fingers. The Sixers get a rebound. The Sixers get a stop. They run up the floor. He's the first one down the floor. He's getting in position. He's putting his hands up. He's getting the basketball. And then within a half a second, he's putting it up because he's already underneath the basket. That is incredible. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to him taking that next step. That's him realizing, okay, I will score at ease if I continue to do this. If I initiate, this is where I want to be. This is how I want to run the offense. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. And this is coming off of the poor start. So it's almost as if his IQ is growing. He is realizing, all right, let me get going. Let me do what I need to. Let me get underneath that basket. And then from there, it rolled. The Sixers at one point scored in 12 straight possessions. So, it was pretty damn crazy what the Sixers were doing at that offensive rate. But they were allowing points too, and they need to be that defensive, swarming squad. And after the game, Mark Jackson brought this up on the postgame show. You outscored the team today. That's fine. Your offense outscored the other team. It was one of those games similar to, remember that game? I think it was Monday Night Football a couple of years ago, Rams versus Chiefs, where Pat Mahomes and Jared Goff, it was an offensive shootout, 60 points for each team. It was crazy. It was wild. That's what this basketball game was. It was a shootout. This team has the ability to win shootouts. That's how this team is built with the spacing this year, which is something I never thought I would ever say in a million years. But they are capable of doing it. I'm not saying they are built fully to do it as if that's the way you are going to win all your games. It's not. You are capable of doing it more than you ever have before. So you can. But this team is built with defense. Let your defense start your offense. Get stops when you need to. Go on the fast break. And then you can get your three-point shooting operating at a high clip. But it starts with being active. It starts with that pick-and-roll defense, getting the big man up. I thought they were very sloppy, and I thought the second unit was sloppy, something we haven't really seen to this level yet this season. I didn't think it was a strong second unit, and that really was a difference maker in the outcome. And I also thought that the closing minutes of the quarters were not strong. Doc has been stressing this to the team for a little bit of time now. You need to be cleaner. The end of the second quarter, right before the first half ended, they got lucky because they got a bucket. They ended up creating a steal from the inbound. Danny Green hit a big three, and that allowed the Sixers to have a little bit of confidence. But prior to those two buckets, the Wizards were making a push. And then you look at the third quarter, the Wizards were absolutely making a push. And in the fourth quarter, they had a 13-1 run, and that's where they actually took the lead again. Raul Neto was the one, of all people, Raul Neto was the one that gave the Wizards that lead in the fourth. Luckily, though, with that back-and-forth action, the Sixers were able to hold on and find a way to grind it out. Stack these victories. I think that is very important. Stack the victories. They are 7-1 because there is going to be times where they should win and they don't win. They lose to bad teams when they should beat that team and abuse them. So if you find ways, especially early here, to build up some of these victories, those losses that are going to come won't hurt as much. It won't be as painful to the standings and things of that nature because, you're taking care of business in some of these games early on. And yeah, I'm fully aware that these teams stink, but I also am fully aware that you got to take care of business against these teams that stink, and they are doing it. There's been some dominating ones. There's been some uglier ones, but this game was one of those ones where it was just so wild. You shoot 80% from three? The offense clearly cooled down, and they still finished the game 62% from three. This is one of those where this won't ever happen again. This style of game, and this is the beauty of sports, by the way. This is what I missed so much when there were no sports in action. These are one of the ones where I was like, damn, that was incredible. That was a journey. That was an emotional roller coaster up and down. You're not going to see many games where an opponent gives you 60. Bradley Beal had more points than his entire team combined, just keeping the Wizards in some sort of reasonable distance. It was still a big chunk, but it was just enough to keep them alive, just enough to keep them involved mentally. And then you saw them go on a push. Real quickly, I want to let you know about my friends at DraftKings. Playoffs, you want to talk about playoffs? That's right, football playoffs start this weekend, and there's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. If you haven't checked out the app, there's no better time to sign up and start cashing in. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new players a deposit bonus up to $1,000 when signing up using promo code Brodes. DraftKings Sportsbook has endless ways for you to bet, from live betting to betting on all your favorite players. They do it all. Check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day this week to cash in on their daily odds boosts. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up and get up to $1,000. That's code Brodes to get a deposit bonus up to $1,000 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only, in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I mentioned the second unit being poor, except for Shake Milton. So let's be clear. Shake Milton actually had a strong performance. In 20 minutes, he scored 19 points off the bench. So him specifically, he was definitely someone who was creating plays and getting tough buckets. And I love everything that he brings to the table. I question, because everyone right from the jump claimed that he was the next Lou Will before really seeing anything. They were just excited about Shake Milton being bought into the six-man role. And everyone said, oh, walking bucket Lou Will, just because of some excitement last year. And I said, look, I need to see it. That's how I operate. That's how I think. Before I claim this is what it is, before I claim this is how it's gonna be, it's let me see it for a legitimate amount of time for it to convince me that's who a player is or that's who this team is. Shake Milton, I always knew that he had this skill set. It's can you put it together for long stretches, do it at a certain percentage, and become that player. And you are seeing whether it's taking it to the basket, whether it's breaking down a defender, whether it's knocking down the three, or whether it's just the confidence showing, he has clearly grown into a really nice role player that this team is going to need if they are going to win out games and close games out. And if you're thinking about helping a second unit out, he is capable to this point. And if he continues to do this, it's been 8 games. He's been pretty damn strong. He's had some tough moments, but he's been pretty damn strong for the most part. If he does this for longer stretches, then yes, this team will absolutely benefit from the play of Shake Milton. And the big thing I've noticed is confidence. It's like the coaching staff said to him, Shake, you can do this. You can be this guy. And I love how he does it in so many different ways. It's not, hey, this is all Shake can do. Sometimes he takes it to the basket and some of these handles, I'm like, whoo, damn! You know? You move off the couch a little bit. You go half up. Maybe I'm the only one that does that. If something exciting happens in a game and I'm watching it by myself in my basement with my laptop, taking notes and getting prepared, I'll do a little lift off. My ass comes up off the couch a little bit like, oh, damn. I did that with Embiid's block. I did that with that alley-oop between Danny Green and Tobias Harris. That one was a mini one, but I did it there. I did it with a couple Shake plays. Like getting to where he wants to on the floor, even if a defender is somewhat in his area, he's shooting over top of him. Like, okay, Shake. Danny Green, by the way, he keeps holding the finger. He held it last game against the Hornets. He held it in this game as well. And you can show, or you can see that the camera is showing his face. He's grimacing. There is definitely some pain there, but he continues to play, and he continues to knock down shots. If you look at the score sheet again, by the way, I mentioned him knocking down shots. A lot of guys are knocking down shots. A lot of guys are getting in double figures. A lot of guys are scoring points. It's like the whole team is doing well. The whole team is passing the basketball beautifully. There's spacing involved. The spacing is key. The spacing is everything. Because everyone complained about the three-point shooting in years past. They're shooting threes. That's what this team is doing, are they not? They are all shooting threes. All of them. The difference is these guys can make threes. But this is the NBA in 2021. You have to shoot threes to win games. You have to shoot threes to play. That's just how it is. Unfortunately, in years past, they didn't have three-point shooting, but you have to do it because that's the style of play. You can't just trade twos for threes all game long and think you're going to be successful. It's not reality. So for everyone that hated how much guys were shooting threes in years past, they're doing it now. They just have the ability to make them. Seth Curry was red hot, finished with 28. He's been shutting me up. Everything I say, people hear, and then I just have that effect on people. They work on their game and they execute. It's like Ben Simmons. I've been crucifying the guy. Finish strong at the rim. Well, he starts out 5 of 5. There's contact involved. Now, some of them, the ball rolls around the rim, comes back up, but then goes back down. But people are tweeting at me, Brodes, looks like Ben Simmons was listening to the podcast. It's like I have that effect. Once I yell and scream about how you need to fix something, they go to work. They go to the gym. So I'm sure Ben Simmons and Embiid, Doc Rivers, Daryl Mori, they're waiting for this to get uploaded. So then they could take what I say, apply it to the game plan, watch film, and then practice things. So then tomorrow, when we talk about the Brooklyn Nets game, things are fixed. That's all. I think that's how it goes. By the way, speaking of tomorrow's game, Tobias Harris played 41 minutes. Joel Embiid played 37 minutes. It's a lot. And it wasn't as if it was a breeze. 21-point lead, don't get me wrong, they did have a lead, but it got tough. Towards the end, it was more of an intense game. You had to compete. You had to battle. You had to ball. Guys were all over the ground. Russell Westbrook was all over the place. You saw, what was it? Ben Simmons, actually. Russell Westbrook has he thinks, a nice, easy way to the basket. Here's Ben Simmons coming back, pokes the ball out from behind him, gets a steal. I love that. Russell Westbrook is a loser to me. Bradley Beal is red hot, right? Well, in the fourth quarter down the stretch, while Embiid went on that run, I'll say it once again, he had a big and one. He had a block on Bradley Beal. He went to the charity stripe, knocked down both. And then Russell Westbrook, of all people, who isn't a great three-point shooter, may I add, thinks that it's his time to try and get a bucket by taking a three. Dude, you're ass, bro. I mean, you're just a guy who likes to pad the stat sheet. You do not result in wins. You do not result in winning basketball. You have a guy on your team. He's the only reason why you're involved. He's the only reason why the Wizards at that point were in that moment. It's your time to pop a three? My ass. So what ends up happening after that? Joel Embiid hits the three-pointer on the other side. And then, of course, while they think they can defend Embiid on the next possession, he finds Ben Simmons wide open in the dunker spot. What I wanted to do today, right now, is take some anytime hotline calls. That's right. I want to hear from the people. How did you see this basketball game? What did you see out of some of these players out there tonight? Here we go.
The Brodes, Sixers team playing extremely well right now. Gave us a little scare in that third quarter, but Sixers wouldn't have won this. I mean, they would have won it because they were at home, but they're finally finishing out games. And Joel Embiid is finally coming up in the clutch, passing out of the double team like he did to Ben Simmons there. And this team is constructed very well. And you saw it with Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris continues to do what he does. And this team is just gelling at an all-time high. And hopefully we can keep this up. We can start beating some better opponents. And we can be better. And the Sixers can definitely have a better season than the Eagles did. The Sixers, baby.
I think you can already argue that the Sixers are better than whatever the Eagles gave us. Even if this is how bad the Eagles have been. If the Sixers lose every game from this point on, I still think it's a more successful season than the Philadelphia Eagles. Can you imagine that? Wow. Yeah, by the way, I barely even mentioned Tobias. You know, there were times where Tobias didn't really get a shot for a big period of time and throughout stretches, but when he did, he still made a nice play. Like, it was like they were limited, but when he did, hey, there's Toby. I still liked what I saw from Toby. It still had that vibe, even though it wasn't one of those big 20-point performances that we've seen over the last couple of games. It still had that vibe that Toby is playing a solid game. It's just in this game, naturally, everybody else got involved, and it was more of a full team effort. He didn't have to go on one of those big nights like he did in the past. Joel Embiid is the guy, though, that stands out to me the most. That is the most important takeaway. Joel Embiid. It's that step. It's that big jump, that big leap. Will we see it more? I really hope so. We keep hearing about him looking slimmer, looking leaner. Well, I feel like we say that every year. Seriously, don't we? Every year we say, oh, he looks like he's in good shape. Oh, it looks like he's in good shape. Oh, it looks like he's in good shape. And then eventually we question why his hands are on his knees, huffing and puffing. So while this was the first time I really recognized and said, yes, I'm not saying this is exactly who he is. I'm acknowledging this is a big first leap, and I want to see if this is something he builds off of. I brought up that Rich Hoffman article on The Athletic in yesterday's podcast where I talked about Daryl Morey's impact on the team, and Joel Embiid stated schematically, when it comes to this offense, at times there's really not that much change. It's just the fact that guys can make shots. It's the spacing on the floor. He also went into detail about how last year, when he would kick it out, no one would make shots, so he would feel the pressure to have to do it himself. He would feel the need to have to put the team on his back, but when nobody else can do anything, it's a lot harder, and it only intensifies. It almost feels like it's weighing down on your shoulders to a whole nother level. This year, it doesn't have to be that way. He feels more confident in his guys to the point where, okay, you're sending that double team? Easy. I mean, there's video clips all around where Seth Curry's taking a three and Joel Embiid's already on his way back onto the defensive side of the floor before it leaves his fingertips because he knows it's a no-brainer. That's hitting nothing but net. That's not even touching the rim. That's a lock. And that's the difference. But yes, whether you want to agree or not, schematically, there's not that much changing offensively. Yeah, there's a little bit more pick and roll implemented, and there's some more things implemented with that style, but you just have better players, and that's allowing this team to look the way that it does. I'm not saying Doc Rivers didn't change anything. Of course, there are changes involved. The biggest thing for me, though, with Doc Rivers is just the professionalism as a core unit of coaches. Dave Yeager, head coaching experience. Sam Cassell, Burke, Doc Rivers. The professionalism of the entire coaching staff is a major change. And then defensively, bringing the big man up with pick and roll. Like, there are things. But when you hear from the big man himself, look, the difference this year is guys are able to do it. Guys are able to execute. Not that much is changing when I'm in that post and teams are double teaming. I just have guys that are capable now. Compared to in the years past, they weren't capable. It's crazy. It's almost like spacing was what was needed. I just think we are so used to what we saw last year. We were so used to not having spacing with these two guys that we are dumbfounded. We were so numb to it. And now that we see it, we're like, oh, oh, oh. That's like the gods. The basketball gods. Oh! It's like we're having that moment. But in reality, this is kind of standard elsewhere. We're just not used to it. You know what I mean? It's like we shouldn't be this overwhelmed with the excitement because this is normally how basketball is played. We just had the wrong people making the decisions with roster construction in the past. And now we finally have someone who's real involved.
This was, without a doubt, one of the best and most crazy and most entertaining games of basketball that I've ever watched. These two teams just had a gigantic marathon. You can even see it again. It's like when they were all together at the end of the game, it seemed like they went through a war together, and they just had to just reflect on what just happened. And overall, just really happy. Sixers go to 7-1. Offense is crazy. I'm not going to delve into deep of the defense. I think that Washington just had a great game, and Beal had a superhuman effort. But just happy to be 7-1 right now. Take care, Brodes.
Thank you for the call. I do agree that the end of the game, Bradley Beal was falling over. He couldn't really get up. When he finally got up, you saw him dap up Joel Embiid. You could tell they were all fatigued. They were all tired. They all left it out there on the floor, which once again will relate and will correlate with, I expect, what happens tomorrow. These guys logged in a ton of minutes and stressful minutes late in the game. I will push back a bit, though, on the defense side of things. I don't think this was the Wizards having a great offensive game. Bradley Beal had a great offensive game, but how many times would he have an easy take to the basket? How many times would he just have a nice look, an easy look, get wherever he wants? The defense needed to be cleaned up. I thought that the Sixers allowed Bradley Beal to get to certain spots on the floor. Now, that's not every possession. Of course, he's going to make tough shots. Good players make tough shots in this league at times when there is great D. I always say this, Elite O beats Elite D in the NBA. You have to do better. You're in a 21-point lead. The Wizards didn't just come back in this game because their offense was so special because of one guy. It's just not. It's just not. Force someone else to beat you. And if they beat you, okay. But that's not what they did. So I will push back a bit on the defense. I didn't see this as, well, the Wizards were just that great offensively. You got to tip your cap. I'll give respect to Beal for what he did. Of course, 60 points. I mean, come on. That's definitely impressive. But I thought a lot of those points were because the Sixers didn't clamp down the way that we have seen them clamp down through the first 7 games of the season before this. Well, this was the 8th game, right? Because they're 7-1. Yeah, so before this game, we've seen them play elite D. This, not so much. Not so much.
Look, I don't know what the hell I just watched, but that was a good game. I mean, we were up like 25 in the third quarter, and then it's tied game. Bradley Beal got 60. I don't know why Ben Simmons wasn't guarding him. Maybe there was a game plan, but yeah, that has to get fixed. But I think that this game showed more than anything the difference between coaching. Coaching matters in this league. Like, it's a stars league for sure, but coaching matters. This is the exact type of game we would have lost under Brett Brown. And B had 38, Seth had 30, Ben making big plays down the stretch in the dunker spot, which under Brett Brown he couldn't play. He's made 2 big plays at the end of games this season in that same spot. So, yeah, I'm just glad we got the win. I think the defense needs to get better, but just glad we got the win. Go Sixers.
You know I'm pushing back on this one. Thank you for the call, by the way. Like, look, this is sports conversation. This is fun. You know, I love the debate. Like, that's what it's all about. Yeah, okay. So the way I see it is Ben Simmons has been in the dunker spot under Brett Brown, now under Doc Rivers. Why was he so wide open? It's simple. It wasn't because of Doc Rivers. Ben Simmons wasn't wide open in the dunker spot when Embiid got doubled because anything Doc Rivers did. That's where Ben Simmons has been with Brett and with Doc Rivers. The difference is roster construction. The reason why this worked out the way that it did wasn't because of what Doc did. It was because of what Daryl Morey did. He got shooters. You having shooters, now you need to focus on these players by the perimeter. When you double, that allows Ben Simmons to be wide open there. You got to respect everything around you on the perimeter now, which allowed that. Before, who are you going to respect? Al Horford? Josh Richardson? Hell no. You don't need to respect those. So there's not as much clogging involved based off of roster construction. And that ties into exactly what I was saying yesterday with Daryl Mori having more of an impact than Doc Rivers. That's not to say, see, this is where I get pissed off. Me saying that, people assume I'm saying Doc Rivers does literally nothing. I'm not saying that at all. Doc Rivers has a role with this team's success. Doc Rivers has a role with this team's success. Doc Rivers has a role with this team's success. And if you did not hear me, Doc Rivers has a role in this team's success. Towards this stretch, Joel Embiid was the reason why this team won the game. Him popping a 3. Like, he popped a 3-pointer. When I talk about that great stretch he had, if Brett Brown allowed him to take that 3-pointer and he missed, what would the storyline be? You gotta get him on the low block. How could you let your best man do that? Take a 3 late game. But if Doc Rivers allows him to take it because he made it, it's not criticized. If Joel Embiid popped a 3 that late in a game under Brett Brown, it would have been all hell. That would have been the reason why you lost. After everything that happened, that would have been the reason why you lost, because Brett Brown allowed Joel Embiid to take the 3. The reason why they won the game at the end, to me, was your spacing allowed Joel Embiid to operate differently, and then he put the team on his back. That's not to discredit Doc Rivers. You win games because of superstars. Let me tell you this. Let's look at what Bradley Beal did. Did their head coach keep them involved? Was the head coach of the Washington Wizards the reason why the Wizards came back? Why the Wizards really fought back? Or was it Bradley Beal? And was it the fact that the Sixers didn't play so strong defensively? You can keep seeing a common theme here. The things on the court. The players. That's the way I see it. You know where I stand on an NBA head coach. They have a role. It's a limited role. The reason why they won, your spacing is there because of Daryl Mori and and Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid made the plays late. He didn't do anything different than he would have done in years past. What did he do different? The fact that he actually made the pass out of the double team? Well, that's because the spacing allowed that to be open. That's a roster construction thing, not a coach thing. You have shooters hanging up by the perimeter who have been making a lot of shots at an elite clip this game specifically. Yet defenders are going to be drawn that way, allowing someone else to be open. It was more the team members than it was coaching.
So after watching this game, this team, again, like every year, just seems to have trouble closing out games, especially with huge leads. Do you think that'll be a problem going forward, or was this just some early rust, like in communication problems in the middle of the third and early fourth quarter?
That's a great question. As I stated, Doc Rivers is someone who has noted that the closeout parts of quarters have been an issue. I think they have the ability to clean it up. To answer your question, do I think this is who they are forever? No, I don't. I think that they will clean this stuff up. They have the ability to clean this up. I'll say that. So just because this is happening, and it has happened in years past, and we felt like, oh, this is standard Sixers blowing a big lead, they have the ability to clean things up. Here's why. They have a team that has firepower from shooting behind the arc. Now it's different. They have the ability to knock down those shots, and if a team inches their way back and make a little bit of a run, because that's just how basketball works. It's a game of runs. So if a team does make a little bit of a push, you have the ability to knock down 2 threes within 15 seconds, and bang, you're back up an extra 6 points from wherever you were. You didn't have that in the years past, and that will help you close out games more. So they have more to learn. They have to adapt. They have the ability to. I think they can totally make that switch and make that change based off of how much they are willing to defend. I know they didn't in this game, but they did towards the end. They absolutely did. Ben Simmons came up with big plays. Joel Embiid came up with big plays. Matisse Thybulle came up with a big play on Bradley Beal right by the backboard. So because of what they can bring to the table defensively, yes, I do think that they can definitely learn how to change this. So, with over 20 years of experience in the industry, Orbit Energy and Power is home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So check out their information down below. It's all in the description. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.